Hello and welcome to the European Football Podcast with me, Adam. Alongside me today is Antonio Marin's number one fan. It's Pete Yates.
Howdy.
Say hello, Pete. I'm the man who thought that AC Milan never spent any money on the week they've been banned from European competitions for fair FFP. It's Kieran.
If you ever want financial advice, just come my way.
And then finally, we've got Nottingham's answer to Maldini. We've got Will Morris. How are you today, Will?
Hey, very tired but ready.
Great to hear that. So in today's podcast, we recount all the big goings on this summer, we consider next season and what that holds, and then we'll finish off by trying to replace an irreplaceable man. All that and more on the European Football Podcast. Okay, hello and welcome. So that's all us, that's all the introductions sorted. Let's get talking football. So, this summer there's been the one competition going on, the Under-21 European Championships. Boys, what do we think about that competition?
I mean, there was the Women's World Cup as well.
Yeah, that wasn't... Who won it, Kieran?
And the Copa America and the Gold Cup all at the same time.
Who, did any of those... Were any of those competitions won by European teams, Will? I'm interested.
Oh, and Celtic won a Champions
Oh,
League
they were!
first round or second round qualifier yesterday.
Yeah, they
Sweden
did.
got
Only
to the
just.
final. No,
they didn't.
Netherlands got to the final.
Yeah, they may have, but America won, Mexico in the Gold Cup, and Brazil won the Copa South America, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
and
but
none
it's
of
all
those teams
fixed,
are
isn't
in
it? 'Cause
Europe.
Lionel Messi
Please.
said so.
Yeah, Lionel Messi picked up his 2009 Champions League winners medal, so I don't count that.
I mean, AC Milan don't spend any money, so...
Right, yeah, back on the point. The Under-21 Championships. Pete, what are your thoughts and feelings about the competition?
How amazing were Romania?
Mm.
What a joy to behold.
I'm glad you mentioned that, actually. Me and Kieran spoke about that previously. We spoke, it's nice to see people like Puskás and Hadji, back on score sheets all around Europe. I'm sure that'll be nice.
Well, no, I mean, they went and held their own against some good teams. England, who were quite heavily fancied, and they destroyed them in the last quarter of an hour of the game.
Absolutely. Then again, that was also the best quarter of an hour of football I've ever seen.
No idea why England were heavily fancied though when they literally have a broomstick in charge. Like, you could get anybody as a manager that would do a better job.
That's what I was about to ask you. Will, why do you think, other than managerial-wise, England struggled so much?
I genuinely think most of it came down to the manager's squad selections were horrendous. I feel like Tammy Abraham, as a 21-year-old, at his stature, he's played in big games, he's massive. I feel like he's going to be a handful to any young defenders. And 100%. What, did he play 20 minutes?
Yeah.
He dropped Wan-Bissaka as well, didn't he, after the own goal that he scored, which wasn't really his fault.
And I get that he didn't have a great game for 90 minutes in that game, but he's still by far your best option defensively.
Oh, yeah. Well, about Eddie Boothroyd, I've seen the best tweet ever about that, and it says he was such a football dinosaur, they might as well call him BC Boothroyd, which I think you boys would all enjoy.
Time for puns like that, right?
Yeah, so the final, obviously, none of the teams we've mentioned. Just, we'd like to mention in passing, of course, Italy. They were incredibly disappointing on their home turf. The Poland result stands out as what was about to
Oh, God. That game was so frustrating.
Needed more Pellegrini. Oh, yeah, Kieran, definitely.
It was so frustrating.
They started so brightly, though.
They did?
Yeah, big win against Spain.
Huge one. And
they marked Dani Ceballos at the game.
Yeah.
He scored early, though, didn't he?
Yeah. Spain went ahead, didn't they? And then Italy beat them. So the other semi-finalists, we spoke about Romania, and then we spoke about... We haven't spoke about them, sorry. France. What did we all think of France before we get into the final?
I expected more offensively from them.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be more dynamic.
I think they were the same in their actual World Cup squad last year. I think they've got too many good players in every position, and I think it's just you're always looking at a bench going, "Oh, why is he missing out again?" And
Yeah.
Well, you say that, but I also watched them start Jean-Philippe Mateta twice and think, not real sure why you're doing that when you've got Ousmane Edouard sat there. or
I
not
don't
sat
think,
there, but
I
not even
don't think
picked.
Dembele started every game, did he?
He did pick up an injury. I think he started the first two and then was injured.
Now, Aouar, he didn't really get much for looking at the
No,
under
it's a guy
21s.
on Dombele.
Yeah, was he dropped for the second game?
He was, yeah.
That's mental.
And then the third game was the worst game of football I've ever seen. You know, the
Yeah.
options were the 3-3 draw between Croatia and England, or the 0-0 draw with Romania and France, which I didn't realise before then. The 0-0 draw sent them both through to
Yeah,
the
I think that
semi-final,
was
so
why neither
obviously.
of them really went for it.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about the final then. We'll head over to you, Pete. What do you think about the Spain team then, the winners?
Like I said, from the first game they had losing to the Italians to the final, you could really see how well they turned it around. They battered France in that final. Absolutely coasted, didn't they? 4-1? 2-1? 4-1?
It was Germany.
It was
Was it Germany in the final?
2-1
Yeah, they battered France and then played Germany. in the
Yeah,
final.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah. So like all the way around, they won every game after that, didn't they? As well, beat Belgium, Poland, I think. France,
Yeah.
Germany.
I think alongside Germany, they had by far the most established team. Like near enough, everybody in that squad was playing regular La Liga football.
Yeah.
Obviously, Fabian Ruiz playing for Napoli, but most of them were
quality.
starting for their La Liga teams.
I will caveat that though, Will, with Italy had the same sort of thing, didn't they? They had a lot of starters from Bologna, Udinese, and then they also had some of the Juve youngsters. And
Moise
stuff. And yet they-
Kean.
Moise Kean. Yeah, but yet they didn't get off the ground. So
Germany
I'll
had
caveat
an
with
established team.
Hmm.
Jonathan Tah looked, I know he's only 23, but he looked well too old and organised to be playing in a youth tournament.
I 100% agree. I think Jonathan Tah's got a big move coming. I think he's always linked with that move away from Leverkusen, isn't he?
And I
But
can't remember his partner's name that was playing alongside him. I think he went down with Stuttgart. Baumgartlinger?
yeah, he's tall, real tall.
Yeah, I feel like he could actually play it out from the back quite well as well.
Yeah. Well, interesting actually. Stuttgart have got a new director of football in Sven Mislintat, so I think they'd be quite an exciting prospect next year in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, he was
And I
great
can
for
imagine
Arsenal.
he's going to get more minutes with the absence of Benji Pavard as well.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, I will come back to you now, Will. Who was a standout player for in Spain's win? Obviously, one of the goals scored by Dani Olmo and the other by Pablo Fornals. But who do you think was the standout man in the final or through the whole competition?
I think Dani Ceballos really showed that he can run a game if he's given the opportunity to be that star man.
Yeah.
Fabian Ruiz just looked solid.
They were brilliant
throughout the
together.
last 2 years.
Yeah.
And I really I'm going to absolutely butcher his name, but Oyarzabal.
Oh yeah, the Real Sociedad player.
Yeah, he looks a really dynamic, exciting, powerful running. Just an
Yeah.
exciting talent. Is he a bit old? Is he 22, 23?
22, yeah, 22. But I was saying to Pete yesterday, because he's from Sociedad, and they've got a hell of a front three for next year. So they've got him on the left. On the right, they've got Martin Odegaard on loan. And then in the middle, they've got Alexander Isaac. That's a
Yeah.
hell of a
I also
front
thought
three to...
that Jesus Vallejo looked really commanding,
Mm.
which is promising for Real Madrid. So they've
Yeah.
now got an abundance of centre-backs for the first time in a while.
100%. I think that was a nice look. Kieran, do you have any final comments on the final? I don't know if you watched it.
I'm just a big fan of Firpo. I think he's
Junior
absolutely
Firpo.
class.
I think he'd
Okay.
be wasted at Liverpool.
Changed
Oh
his
yeah,
name as well.
100%. No point in him
Maybe.
going there. But I think in terms of attacking fullbacks, he's definitely got potential to be one of the best at going forward, especially.
Yeah.
I'd
Mm.
love
be
to
fair-
see him at Napoli because Gulam has got legs made out of twigs.
Chalk.
That's what I mean, though.
I
He's
think
like,
what's done Spain a world of good is I think a lot of their players are going to get good transfers now.
yeah.
You actually see them start like Dani Ceballos. He's not going to start for Real Madrid next season, but he should be a starter somewhere.
Maybe, Pete, maybe. You'll be able to find a place from
Don't
there.
get me started on Real Madrid's midfield.
Valverde, did someone say, Will?
Valverde, Ceballos, and Loriente should have been starting as a free last season.
Well, obviously, Llorente's just gone to replace Rodri, hasn't he? So,
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
great.
But,
He's a
just
little
one
bit less
final
mobile.
point. Yeah. one final point on the under-21s is the German striker, the top goal scorer, Luca Waldschmidt, who's currently at Freiburg. What do you all think of him? Do you think he'll get a big move off his results? Good to you now, Pete.
German, young, probably going to be at Bayern Munich, isn't he, Wonder?
Even over Jean Fiete, who I was also surprised he wasn't playing.
I mean, he's like 19, isn't he? I think that Waldschmidt's like 23.
He's 23, yeah.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like with the Bundesliga, who else are the big like the Freiburg look at him? I think maybe try and get a player like him in for losing Luka Jovic, or would Leipzig wait
Frankfurt.
until someone might make a move for Timo Werner and then try and sign him in, or because I think for his development, he's got to go to a club where he's actually going to start and play.
Oh yeah.
I do feel like he'll probably look at his next move as a stepping stone as well.
Yeah,
I feel like somebody that, even though they had a terrible season, someone of the stature of a Schalke maybe, that he knows that if he puts some good performances there, then he could maybe get that Bayern or Dortmund move.
See, I would be intrigued just to see with maybe someone like with Fiete on the out, maybe someone like Hamburg. It is taking a step down, but it's to a bigger club.
he played for Hamburg before Freiburg.
Oh, did he?
I think he was
Probably
there for a
won't go
couple
there
of
then.
seasons. In fact, now that I've just shot myself in the foot, I actually think he played for Frankfurt when he was a youth player, isn't he? Maybe he's got some unfinished
Really?
business. We'll go back.
Maybe.
He's definitely
Maybe.
I could well be wrong. I don't know. I'm fairly certain. I remember reading or hearing about it during the under-21s that
he's
he's
most
been
definitely
affiliated
doubled his value, hasn't he, in the space of 2 weeks?
Oh,
yeah.
100%. Especially for that, which is brilliant for Freiburg. I think they'd probably cash in. Another striker, we did mention him before, and this is promise the last thing I say about the Antonins. George Puskás, currently playing in Serie B.
Palermo,
Where do you
is
see
it?
him moving, Will?
Is he at Palermo?
I want to say not Palermo because they're in Serie D now. I don't even think they're actually a club
Yeah,
anymore.
I saw that.
They've been, they
Have
Was
they,
that
it's
a
the most
financial
ridiculous
thing?
thing.
have they gone full dinner pro?
So I'll go through what happened. Basically, they were deducted points, and then they were bottom of the league. They were relegated, and then the team from Venice called Vincentia thought they were safe as a result of them being relegated, and then the league said, if you can pay this 850 grand, we'll let you back in. Which then they said okay. Then they were given a promise by a Hungarian bank, which turned out to not exist, to pay the 850k. As a result of that, Vincentia had to play a relegation playoff for Serie C, which they did lose, so they thought they were relegated. And then Palermo didn't end up paying the money because the bank didn't exist, and Palermo went down to Serie D, and Vincentia were back promoted
When
again.
did you see this? Because I've just looked at Palermo and it says they're in the Serie B.
I also thought he was playing for Palermo last season.
This is as of so for next season they'll be in Serie D, and it won't be actually Palermo.
Puskás is still with Palermo currently.
Oh, is he? Well, I assume he will leave then, but he definitely will leave. And I can't see him going in Serie D next year.
I could see him going to Genoa. They like to buy billion strikers. Don't they?
He's
And then
been
see
at
which
Genoa
one-
previous,
which
hasn't he?
ones work out. They've got quite an exciting striker currently, haven't they? Genoa, but his name escapes me. I don't think Puskás has ever played for Genoa. He's been at Inter, where he
Inter,
barely
yeah.
featured. Bari, Benevento, Navarra. But I could see someone along the lines of Genoa. I mean, I think they've just taken a hefty fee for the centre back from Juve, haven't they? So they could reinvest that money.
But they also have just spent, I think, about 20 million, which is a lot for Genoa, on one of the Sorianos from Villarreal. But don't quote me on that because that might have been to Bologna. They've got very similar badges.
A lot of dark blue and purple.
They love the crosses.
Well, that was a that was a great roundup of the Under-21 Championships. Now let's talk about silly season, boys. So first off, before we go into the transfers, we'll talk about managerial changes. I'd like to start in the Bundesliga, and the first one I'd like to talk about is the one that it went through first. It's been confirmed for a year, and he's just finally gone, and it's Julian Nagelmann to RB Leipzig. Will, what do we think about that?
I think it's a really exciting move. I think everybody can see that Leipzig's been a project for the last 4 or 5 years, and they know that they're building this to compete with Bayern and Dortmund. And I don't think they're there yet, but I think Nagelsmann's the right move to keep them pushing. That it's probably a matter of time, isn't it, that they either cash in on Werner, and if he reinvests that smartly, it might be better than having Werner if they can get 100 plus for him.
I don't
and
think they
also,
will,
I think they're going to go over to their friends at Salzburg and steal that really promising Norwegian gentleman up top.
Goodbranson? Not for, not
Haaland?
What's it called?
Haaland.
Haaland.
Yeah, I think within 2 years he's
Well-
running alongside Yusuf Poulsen or
Okay.
something.
I do agree with some of the points you made there, but I don't think they'll get that much for Werner. Werner's got 12 months of his contract left now. But the question is, do they sell him now, or do they try and persuade him to sign a year extension just to try 1 year with Nagelsmann?
I think he'll sign a big deal.
I think he will too.
I think he'll have faith in Nagelsmann, but I think he'll say to him, I want this much money, 4 years, and if we aren't competing in the next 2 years, I get to go to Barcelona, Real Madrid, whoever, Bayern Munich.
Okay.
How old
My
is
next
Werner?
question. 23. Yeah, my next question is for you, Pete. About RB Leipzig again, Nagelsmann. So the one thing that Leipzig have not had is like a significant run in any of the European competitions. So obviously they were knocked out of the Europa League in the group stage last year, and then their first time in the Champions League was abysmal. Do you think Nagelsmann can do anything to counter that and possibly change their fortune in Europe?
I think he's a good young coach that could get a team really going. I do. I think the problem that Leipzig might have had is similarly a lot to the kind of Prem clubs where their starting 11 is superb, but beyond that, the squad depth isn't there. If he can go there, bring in a couple of, young players again, like they seem to be doing, then I think they'll do all right in Europe. They do have a team that makes you think, oh God, I don't want to come up against him. Those centre backs are absolutely ginormous. Upamecano and Konate.
Yeah,
We've got
and of course they've got
Willy Obran as well.
Willy Obran, yeah. See, I think that was one thing that Nagelsmann was really good at Hoffenheim. He was really good at, making players that were mediocre, not household names, people like Nico Schulz and Demirbray, and then putting them on the main stage, making like average players seem to be world beaters, which I think could really help with the RB Leipzig scouting process, the young Brazilians and Uruguayans they've got in. So that's very good. I would just ask Kieran one question, just so he's not left out on the Nagelsmann. How do you spell Nagelsmann?
I think it starts with an N.
Yeah, well, you smashed it, so.
Nagelsmann? Right.
They weren't letters, you just said his name slowly.
Yep. That's my contribution there.
Of course,
Thanks very
the
much.
problem, Leipzig, Hannes Wolf, just touching back on the under 21. What an enforcer.
Yeah, his leg is jelly, absolute jelly.
Yeah.
And we wish Hannes the best of recoveries.
While we're still talking to the under 21, this is a point that I did want to make before, but didn't want to
Sorry,
butt in.
Kieran.
No, it's fine. I was baffled that Tar was still eligible to play in that. Like, I know
okay,
he's 23 and it's based off when the qualification starts, isn't it? Or something like that. But
Just looks an
like, just
absolute
seeing him
man against
there,
boys.
like,
Yeah.
he is just, I don't know, boys against men,
Well,
figuratively, literally.
that's it. Spain and Germany had the two oldest squads, and then they were the two in the final, so it's pretty obvious.
Well, yeah.
But that was a smart move from both of them. So obviously those 4 teams got to the semi-finals, all qualified for the Olympics, which would be very exciting. Which Kylian Mbappe said he'd play for France in,
I do
because apparently he loves Japan.
I think it would have been beneficial
does.
for England to send out everybody under the age of 23 or 23 and below. Their best players, get your Rashfords, Dele Allis, just send them.
Okay. But I think the issue for England was obviously the Nations League was running at a similar
That's a
time,
very good point.
so you did want those players for the Nations League rather than the
Very
under
good
21s.
point.
I also
I
think
bet-
that
especially-
they're a bit of arseholes. If you were to turn around and say, Dele Alli, I want you to play under 21s,
Yeah.
I just don't think he would.
I just think we're a country that needs a win, and if we'd have sent the best players, we would have had at least a chance.
Oh, definitely.
Well, maybe not because AD Buford was still in charge, but
Well, what is interesting is that the commentator said when watching the semi-final, if England had got to the semi-final, then there would have been a playoff for the the Olympic places, because Great Britain aren't entering a football team into the 2022 Olympics, which interests me. Or 2020, sorry, Olympics. Which I
Not
found very
entering one.
interesting.
we'll just
Why is
panic
that?
on the last week and send like the Northern Ireland.
Because
Is
it
it
counteracted with the Euros,
Yeah.
so
Uh,
they didn't want that.
Yeah, because
Well, that was,
potentially all the home nations can qualify, can't they? Or something.
Yeah, apart from Northern Ireland in a
Apart
group
from-
with Germany and the Netherlands. I doubt they'll get through that. But
3
they've
out
won
of
every
4.
game so far, so yeah. Okay. Back to
Yeah,
managerial changes in the Bundesliga. I'm going to wrap this up as a little double package. Marco Reus, to Borussia Mönchengladbach, and Oliver Glasner to Wolfsburg. Now, I'm going to go to Pete first, because I know you know about Oliver Glasner. I don't know if you know about him from that name, but the former Lask Linz manager. What can you tell me about him for Wolfsburg, and what do you think for them for next year?
he had a great season at Last Linz, didn't he? In Austria. There's no harm in coming second to Salzburg in that league.
100% not.
He played for them as well as a footballer
For Wolfsburg?
for Last Linz. So,
Ah.
he stays kind of loyal to his roots.
Yeah.
Wolfsburg and another team that I think they're bringing in some exciting talent.
Kevin
We
Mbappe
said,
for
didn't we, that they've got the absolute dream of the right back, left back in Roussillon and Babu for left back, right back, haven't they?
Yeah.
A team
And then
that probably
obviously-
deserves more than they've been given down the years.
Yeah.
But a good coach. Again, he's young. He's 40 something, 44.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good names in that Bundesliga now.
100%. And I'm going to turn to Will on Marco Reus. Marco Reus, obviously the former Red Bull Salzburg manager. So 2 managers coming from the A Bundesliga to the Bundesliga. Will, what are your thoughts on Marco Reus and Borussia Mönchengladbach?
I just feel like he's a man that's going to get the best out of players. You look at, I think he makes smart signings as well. I think he makes a lot of signings within his own league. Muniz de Boer.
Do you think? So do you think that's him,
hold
or
on.
is that the Red Bull?
I also was just thinking
conglomerate.
that Grasshopper were playing in Austria then. So I just completely gone against my own point then.
It's close.
But no,
Yeah.
well, to be fair though, I
You're
that is a good point.
Yeah.
Signing players from the Swiss league is a smart move because it's a league
I'll,
where you can't get raw
reinvent the
talent.
sentence too. I think he was making smart moves.
There you
Muniz
go.
de Boer, he's obviously turned over a nice profit whilst he
Was he
left.
didn't he leave for free?
Muniz de Boer? No, he signed in January, I'm sure he did.
Oh, was it? Oh, was it January? I thought
I'm
he
sure
left on the
signed
end
in
of his
January and
contract.
got loaned back for the last 6 months, or just joined a pre-contract in January.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. Anything else from Gladbach? Do you think any players there can improve?
I mean, they've just lost Hazard, haven't they?
Yeah.
So that's going to be quite a big loss for them, I think. But
Problem a few teams have from
Be
Europe this year.
interesting to see how he ruined there.
you know, I think. I mean, he
I am
brought a lot
excited
for
about
them.
Allison Plea. They've got him.
Yes.
Have
I
they
like it.
just signed Brian Bolo?
Have they? I don't know, but
Let me
I mean,
check. I'm sure he's.
is
just
this an
moved.
exclusive? It's a Will Morris exclusive.
I'm
I'm
sure
fairly
he's-
certain he's moved to Gladbach as well from Schalke.
If that's the case, I love
Yeah,
that deal
he
so
has.
much because Briel
Yeah.
had so much talent.
See,
I
was
actually have a
right
friend that
about,
went to
like,
school with him.
Marco Rose and his Swiss transfers.
The Swiss man.
The knowledge.
Well, I think that was
Yeah.
was quite a comprehensive look at
Wasn't
them.
working for him at Schalke, was it? Fresh
No,
start.
no.
Hopefully, he doesn't
Yeah,
get good because I feel like a lot of it did come down to that he couldn't walk.
I think there'll be less pressure on him as well because there is also a striker that can score there now. In Allison Plea. Okay, that was quite a comprehensive look of Marco Reus and Gladbach. And then finally, Kieran.
Oh, shit.
Oh gosh,
Doggo.
doggo. We're gonna get to you
Doggo.
finally, Kieran. with
Right.
David Wagner at Schalke. What do you think of him?
I,
Former
I
Huddersfield
really
manager.
like David Wagner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that Huddersfield team, it baffled me they stayed up for so long, to be honest.
Well, surely it's got to come down to something about him.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So, Schalke, they've always been a big club in my eyes. Like Schalke are like usually when I think of German teams, they're like the fourth team I think of usually.
Behind
So
him.
like, I like that he's made a move to a bigger club than Huddersfield.
Yeah.
No offense, Josh Woodhead. Huddersfield, crap. Absolutely
See,
crap.
one thing that I will advocate this is Wagner obviously was part of the youth setup with Dortmund, and then obviously Gleiskirchen or Schalke are big rivals. Pete, how do you think? Do you think the fans will take him any differently due to this rivalry, or do you think he should be alright?
I think they will if he starts going on a consecutive run of defeats. I think wins
To be fair, if you
7
start with a
out of 10.
consecutive run of defeats, I don't think it matters who you come from.
Exactly, that's what I mean. I think football's just that modernised nowadays. It just doesn't matter. Like we'll touch on later. I'm a massive fan of AVB, who's managed Chelsea and Spurs. I'm an Arsenal fan. It doesn't matter. If he comes in with the right mentality, gets on the players, gets the results in, I never get mad as who you've been happy for.
Yeah.
Jose
that's
Mourinho,
great.
prime example. United fans loved it at the start, didn't they? So.
It's got some really sad
Wow.
breaking news that I feel like is really important for the world of
Go on,
sport.
Will.
Breaking news.
Rip Torn, the actor that played the legendary Patches O'Houlihan in Dodgeball, has just passed away. So, R.I.P.
Damn.
to Patches O'Houlihan.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, rip.
Rest in
That's
peace.
a
You
That's
can
sad.
dodge a wrench. You can dodge a ball.
You can dodge a ball, but you can't dodge death.
Kieran, man's just died. Ugh.
You just
Anyway.
ruined my weekly in memoriam part.
We did Barry
Um,
Chuckle last year. to be
Will-
fair.
I know. Will, I do have a question for you, but I've got an easy one that I'm gonna throw to Kieran. So you will just have to be patient for a minute. Kieran, Frank Lampard to Chelsea. What do you think about that deal?
I think there's a lot of pressure on him, but
Really?
here's why I think. Well,
I'd argue it's the polar opposite, Kieran. But go on, you tell me. why.
No, I just mean-
Ideal time to join.
Yeah, no pressure at him at all. No transfers you can get wrong.
no
Anyway,
transfers.
Kieran, go on.
I don't
But-
want to restart.
You look at the Derby team he was using. A lot of that was sort of young English players on loan. Some from Chelsea.
Tamori Mount.
But now
Mm-hmm.
it's, trying to integrate those players into first team football at a Premier League level, not Championship anymore, which I think is quite a big jump.
Yeah.
A lot of teams struggle anyway. But being
Yeah.
just a manager, he's still got a couple of big names there.
He's got Pulisic coming in as
He's
well.
got Pulisic coming in. Have they signed Kovacic?
Kovacic.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
they
signed
signed
40
him now.
million.
And sold Moran.
That's
for
a
about
solid.
Roughly the same price. Few million
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, that's a solid bit.
That is good.
Business by them. But yeah, I it is, especially after, Chelsea this year finished third, won the Europa League, which was the only European competition they were in. And Sarri still got absolutely, well, I don't know, I felt like he was hated by a lot of Chelsea
Yeah.
fans. Which I
Chelsea,
thought,
you can't win with Chelsea fans.
No.
But I think this transfer this managerial appointment you can win because you're trying to bring back the old times. So Lampard was there for ages. Jody Morris, a Chelsea
as a-
legend as well as assistant.
as a
He's
player,
brought in
though,
Petr Cech, Ashley Cole.
That's what
They're
I
all
agree
his
with
coaching
Ian
staff.
about the pressure though, because Frank
Yeah.
Lampard, he's a Chelsea legend. If he messes up,
exactly.
He can lose that.
his reputation.
I don't feel like
could
he
well
can
be
mess up
concerned.
this year, though. I think next year, when he can make signings, is a
Mm.
different story.
Well, I didn't see a Chelsea poll.
I agree, but
Unless-
Chelsea fans, you know what they're like. Like you
Hmm.
said, look at Sarri. They all jumped on his back in January. They hated him. Took him
I
to
just
the
hope-
Olympic final, finished third, won the Europa
How
League.
many? I just think like even United fans who are United fans. Sorry, Will. But like they would have
Don't
loved
apologise.
to finish third and win the Europa League.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but that's because Chelsea's team's significantly better than United's team. I'd say.
On
But it's
paper,
just like-
I really don't agree.
I would also perhaps disagree. The fact that
Yeah,
United,
Eden
Arsenal,
Hazard.
Spurs, and any of those teams, all they had to do was win 3 or 4 games.
It was just-
in that
It
final
was
stage,
whoever
didn't
was
they
getting
finish
top four was whoever wasn't playing like an absolute imbecile for the last 2 months.
And
Everybody
then
was
Man
just
United drew against Huddersfield.
Everybody was just chopping limbs off and trying to swim.
Yeah.
I just
100%.
sick reference, bro.
Well, I'll
I just really
we'll wrap
hope that
this
Frank
up.
Lampard wants to play 4 at the back and really likes Marcus Alonso because that's United's best hope of getting top 4.
I think Chelsea will be an implosion this year. Lampard is favourite to be sacked for this. So, well, I'm glad, because this is why I saved Kieran for that one. Sorry to Juve, obviously, the other side of that deal. What do you think about that?
I don't know how much of a say he's got in transfers, but I think he's gone to a team where if he wants to adjust and play his system, it's a team which still should walk that league. I know Napoli have sorted out defence and they might get James, but I say sorted out defence like they were a problem defensively, but they've signed Manolas.
They've signed Manolas, yeah.
Albiol. They still need to address fullback, but Juve can still be heavy favourites for a league whilst transitioning, and it's going to be a big job because they're such an ageing squad. They've got to flip that age number around. I think Sarri's a good appointment for it. I think you've got to be patient with him. You're not going to have Juve winning the Champions League this year, next year. In my eyes, I think you've got to be patient. Let him flip the age round, and I think he'll do a really good job.
Okay, I like that. That was very nicely put, Will. I agree. And I think the reason why I think he will get more time at Chelsea just to settle in more than anything is because he's managed in Italy before. They know what he can do at his best. And just on general, Italian managers last longer than other managers in other leagues. There's been a lot of layoffs this year, but the longest serving managers in Serie A well outshone in length the other leagues. So hopefully he can have a better
that he's
success.
going at a time where Napoli are also aging and need to flip a bit. Inter Milan have been an absolute shambles off and on the field. AC Milan the same. They're going in with no direct competition.
100%. I agree there, Will. I think Champions League's he's got to go for what he's got to go for, but that Ronaldo factor can settle that. You did mention them there. Inter Milan, they've got a new manager, Pete. What do you think about Antonio Conte?
I'm a big fan of him.
Great hair.
He
He has got great hair.
Great hair transplant.
Luscious locks.
You know,
100%.
he was given a chance back in 2011, wasn't he, to get his big breakthrough at Juventus. And he showed what he did there. Big stage of it, and he wasn't the greatest. One season in the Prem, he won the league with Chelsea and introduced a whole new sort of era of football that hadn't really been seen before. And admittedly, it didn't really work out for him in the second year, but the man always deserves a big job in Italy. He knows what he's doing. He's going to bring in some good players. I think he'll get rid of maybe not the right players, but I think if Icardi wants out, I think he's the man to sell him for big money. He'll find a replacement for him. There's always trouble
Lukaku.
there. He is.
I was going to say Romelu.
Honestly, I know that after the Prem watchers think, oh, he's an absolute donkey. I think Lukaku would tear
He'd be amazing.
Yeah, really.
Especially with Victor Moses running down the right.
30 goal a season man there, but he isn't going to be at United.
No, it's just not that style. Like, I don't know.
He's always
not
getting
gonna
the
get
stick of,
started
he's just a fat, lazy striker in the Prem.
That's just English football fans for you boys.
Exactly. In the Serie A, I honestly think he'd do an absolute job.
And they've been flirting with each other, aren't they, for weeks? So
they have Instagram
follows. He might actually work a lot harder for Conte.
Someone like, and I'm never going to do him discredit, but Quagliarella is still banging in goals in that league.
Yeah.
What a man he is.
So if he is at 36, then I'm sure Lukaku.
Well, I mean, Quagliarella's been reselected for the Italy team because he was the only Italian striker that was scoring. You know.
Love that.
Yeah, Belotti was quiet this year.
Immobile didn't have his normal year. Yeah. Okay, that was a nice comprehensive look at Inter Milan's Antonio Conte. Now, we are running a bit over time on the managers, so I'm just going to rattle off a few and we can discuss. Okay, and then we're going to save Pete's favourite till last.
Oh,
Okay, so we've got Marco Giampaolo, the new AC Milan manager, was manager at Samp, really overperformed there. They had some great signings on real cheap. Hopefully, he can bring some of them across the cheap. I think he's got a big job on his hands.
AC Milan hates spending money as well, so.
I'd love him to bring Quagliarella over at the age of 36. and give
That
him
would be
incredible.
great. Okay, and then we've got replacing Giampaolo at Sampdoria. We've got Eusebio Di Francesco, the former Roma manager. I know Pete's a big fan of him. You know, got Roma to a semi-final of a Champions League, so I think he'll be forever remembered in a good way
Yeah,
at
he
Roma
did.
and in Italian football. Did also do incredibly well with Sassuolo when he was manager there.
Roma just signed Paul Lopez yesterday, maybe.
They did, yeah. That's got to be Big Rob Olsen down.
Yeah, he's
Speaking of
horrendous.
Roma as well, Paulo Fonseca, the former Shakhtar manager, he's been announced there. The Portuguese man, he's he's used to European leagues. He's done well in the Champions League before.
I
Then
think
he'll
it's
do a
the
good
same
job.
as the Bundesliga, isn't it? You're looking at there's so many more fresh faces at new clubs this year that it's just going to be great to watch.
Oh, it is, and yeah, still Serie A still kept its mainly Italian managers. So
Yeah.
I think Paulo Fonseca and the Bologna manager are the only two that aren't from Italy. So that's quite an impressive record compared to England, which have, I don't know. Apparently, Steve Bruce is going to take over at Newcastle, which could have our podcast in itself, and then
Good God.
obviously Eddie Howe.
I didn't know
Okay.
that. That's brilliant. Man.
Yeah,
What about,
apparently, yes. Like I seen this tweet and it said yesterday we were getting a Sheikh and Jose Mourinho, and today Ashley's staying and we're getting Steve Bruce. I just thought, oh
Can
yeah,
you
yeah.
imagine Steve Bruce?
That'd be horrendous.
That
Oh, well,
that would be acceptable for Newcastle fans to find a new club to support.
100%. Go. I'll tell you what. They need to go down to Gateshead. You know,
Or
a team.
Blythe.
They've got a great stadium and they've got no money. They've been relegated because of their financial situation. Go down there, support that team, get that team up and going.
Also,
that was
Lampard.
great, boys.
Lampard's an English manager.
Oh yeah, sorry, that was my bad. For the first, I think it's a 20-something years since the last English manager Chelsea had permanently.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. Finally, we go to Pete on the AVB corner, the new Marseille man. What do we think of him, Pete Yates?
Yeah, it's more so just a love relationship. I don't really think he's been that good, man. I just really like his hair. I just think he's a good-looking, fine man. If I look like him in a few years' time, my God, I'd die happy.
We'll have to go and see those Turks, Pete, maybe for a cheeky hair transplant to get those luscious locks.
He's been at some big clubs. The man's only 41.
He's
had a
lived
good
in
couple of years
Russia
there.
and China and still looks fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, didn't he take like a year out of managing to do some
He
racing
went
on bikes or
bike
something?
riding, yeah.
Yeah.
That was what
What a
and I
man.
just like stuff like that.
This is
That is brilliant. 100%. Well, that rounds up the managerial part of the podcast. Now we move into the gosh darn hard transfers. The money is talking. We've had a lot of high money transfers. I'm just going to rattle off 4 for you now. A ridiculous money, and we'll go through them all individually, and we'll rattle off some other significant transfers. We're going to start off Joao Felix, the first transfer. Benfica to Atletico Madrid. Will Morris, what do you think of this transfer?
All I've seen is negative press about it, and I think it's a great move
I really like it.
because
I like it, yeah.
they're in a transitional stage because we've lost Godin at the back, so they've lost Rodri in the middle, and obviously Griezmann is
On his way.
He's
not an
all gone.
Atletico player anymore, is he? Signed Morata, but you don't want an entire squad overhaul. You don't want to change Simeone's system.
Yeah.
Bringing in a like for like, and there's not too many players that are gonna play Griezmann's shadow striker role in the vein that he does. And I think when you sign in an 18-year-old who's shown so much promise and scored a hat-trick in the Europa League, and he only really started playing in about November, December, like late November.
Yeah.
It's only when he really started starting, and I don't know his exact stat, but I reckon his goals is about 0.7, maybe higher.
Okay.
So specific. Do you know, I'll look
Yeah.
for you.
But
Thanks for that, Will.
I know it's a lot of money, but it's the exact money that Griezmann is going for.
Gonna get.
And you're just getting a younger replacement. Who,
And he is on a 7-year deal there as well.
Yeah. Okay. I will also say Diego Costa is favourite to go to Wolves, actually, then remain at Athletic Madrid. So that could be real interesting. Some money can come in. You know, we all know who his agent is if he's off the Wolves. Doesn't need saying. Could be a good transfer for Wolves. Disappointing after
brilliant.
just
He's
spending
a
30 million on
fantastic
Jimenez. 100%. And
Massive
he's
bully
just
at top. That's what you want.
shithouse
I
is the
feel
word
if
I'd
they
use.
play two up front, though, they're going to have some serious problems when Doherty cuts it back and him and Jimenez are fighting each other for the 2-yard tap in.
And he would definitely fight him. He'd fight
Yeah.
everyone. It doesn't matter if he's on
Well,
the
I
team,
think they wouldn't play in the same team, surely.
I read something yesterday that said they were going to play both of them up front together.
That is a horrendous idea.
You're just getting two big-bodied brutes up top.
Because the Jimenez goal, the only other person who scores the Jimenez goals that he scores everywhere is Costa. No one else is just always in that little bit of space where he's free and he just seems to be tapping the ball into an empty net almost every game. He seems to be in
Benzema, but
that position.
That's probably
Oh
a bit
yeah,
more unlikely.
but he's well,
He can pass.
he's not going to be playing for Wolves anytime soon, is he?
Nah,
Just to bring
We
it back.
never know.
he loves
Bring
the
it back,
lifestyle.
Don't care.
João Felix got 15 goals in 26 games, but 5 of those were off the bench. He's got 0.57 goals per game.
Oh!
Oh, got the 7,
But-
right?
If you
His
just
assist
count
as well.
starting appearances, it's 0.71.
Oh!
I just wanted to say how scarily close Will was.
Nerd.
Nerd. What do you do?
Go on,
Research or
Pete.
something?
Pete, you had a point there. Sorry that Kieran interrupted.
Sorry, Pete.
Oh no, I just said it's to do with his assists as well. I think he got double figures in then as well. last
Yeah,
season.
linked really nicely with Seferovic.
Yeah. I think it's a great bit of business. I really.
100%. Because Morata is somehow significantly better than Seferovic.
Yeah, I think Morata's probably going to score 20 goals next season in La Liga.
100%. That's a great shout, Will. Staying in La Liga, there's another transfer we're going to talk about. It's the man with the arse. It's Eden Hazard.
Yes, going on.
What do we all think about that? I'm going to go to Kieran for this one. Pick Kieran for the easy ones. Kieran, Eden Hazard.
Well, Adam, this is a completely fresh take on this, by the way. Eden Hazard is a massive loss for Chelsea. Do you want me to just copy and paste?
Actually, do you know what? I actually think it's a good
I
move for
think,
Chelsea.
yeah, it actually is because I think Chelsea
Pulisic
became
can have
very,
the spotlight.
not even that. They became very reliant on Hazard a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I think it'll allow Chelsea to build more as a team now, rather than being like, oh shit, Hazard's injured. What are we gonna do? But no, obviously Real this season were like, are you all right?
Yeah, sorry. You just keep saying some outlandish things. Go on.
That's what I'm
I feel
here
like he's
for.
on
innit?
Cartoon Network.
That's what I'm here for. Right. You've made me lose my train of thought. Yeah,
Sorry,
Real, you know, having lost Ronaldo last year, I felt this year they were lacking something. You know, the fans turned on Bale, the manager turned on Bale. Will Bale be staying? Big questions. But no, big signing for Real. You know, they want to be competing in the Champions League, and Hazard also wanted to be in the Champions League, which if he'd stayed at Chelsea, he would have still got. But, you know, it's been coming for a while, hasn't it?
That's great. I'm just going to also caveat that with, obviously, Roger had a big summer. Phil Mendy and Jovic. Jovic is a player, did exceptionally well at Frankfurt last year. Numbers are nuts. Players nuts. Played really well off Haller. Be interesting to see what Real Madrid do with that next year. And then Phil Mendy probably spells the end of definitely Reguilon's place in the Real Madrid first team.
Sevilla on loan.
What
Yeah,
about
and then
Everton?
maybe
Does he
Marcelo.
Does he come into main team?
Who Hachafakimi probably goes in there, doesn't
You
he?
could do.
Still at
Oh,
Dortmund.
who's left?
Yeah.
Who's Sevilla's left back at the moment?
Escudero.
Yeah, he probably does start then, doesn't he?
And Lopetegui loves him.
There's also, haven't they loaned out Hernandez as well?
No, they've
No,
sold,
Hernandez-
they've
Lucas
sold
Hernandez.
They've sold
He's-
Teo Hernandez
They've not.
to.
Oh,
Yes, they have. They've
Yeah,
sold
they have.
Teo
Sorry,
for
AC Milan.
20 million.
Yeah, my bad.
Both of the Hernandezes are gone.
Wow.
That you took the words right out of my mouth, Pete. Lucas Hernandez. What do you think of his move to Bayern, Kieran?
I think Real Madrid are going to have a devastating counter-attack for the first time since the Mourinho 2011 days. Like, I feel like they're going to soak pressure and then they're going to break, and you're going to have Hazard and Jovic leading a counter-attack.
Scary.
It just goes back to your point before, though, about that under-21s. I think that Madrid have to play those world stars, that they're still going to play the likes of Casemiro and Modric in the centre mid, and it's just
I
outdated.
read something this year. I read something last night.
That is this year.
The Inter Milan had lodged a bid for Fede Valverde, and Zidane turned it down, saying that he was he needed him because he was going to cover all three midfield positions this season, and he was a massive part of the squad going forward.
I hope so, because him and Ceballos and Lorente, they should have been playing.
Well, Lorente's gone, hasn't he? But
I really feel like Casemiro got hit with a bus last season. Just runs around aimlessly at the minute before he did last season. Modric, biggest fraud to ever win a Ballon d'Or.
Don't get me started on that.
Shouldn't be starting a minute next season for Real. And Toni Kroos.
they should have taken that cash from Inter for him.
Toni Kroos is
They should have
fine.
done.
They should have signed Tongue and Dombele.
Also, while we're still on Real Madrid, Eder Militao, they bought him back in January, didn't they? He's coming in next season.
Yep.
What do we think of that?
That was on my list, Kieran, but
Oh.
it's okay. Do you know what? We'll skip over it. It's a real good answer. He can play right back and centre back. Be great. He's a good young player. Had a great season in Liga Nosh.
Gonna
Back
get
to the
mentored
question I
by
asked a
Ramos.
minute ago before Will started talking about Real Madrid.
Again.
Was a transfer from Atletico Madrid. And I asked the question to Pete, Lucas Hernandez to Bayern Munich.
To
What do
me,
you think? To you, Pete, yeah.
oh, brilliant signing, yeah. I think, again, like a Real Madrid, Bayern Munich had a very aging squad, and I think these fresh-in faces that they're trying to bring in will do the job. If they were to bring in him for a left-back and Leroy Sané for a left wing, deadly.
So Gnabry's not too bad himself there, though, is he?
Well, that is true, but being
He
an
can
Arsenal
play
boy,
right
I
or
remember
left
him
corner.
being
But
dropped
you've
from
lost
West Brom.
two wingers.
Yeah.
And Lewandowski's 31.
Yeah. But they have got in Alphonso Davies.
Yeah.
He's not going to start.
Yeah,
is he?
he's
I don't
not.
think.
Well, he's probably not.
No, but he's there. He's good enough as well. I'll just quickly mention another transfer out of Atletico is the 70 million for Rodri. Obviously, replacing Marcos Llorente. Rodri probably do quite well. He's a good player. Really like him. My next
He's a
question is
baller, isn't he?
for Baller. Yeah. My next question is for Will. It's a, I'll say penultimate one on the transfers before I just do a little roundup because I am wary of the time. And I have to ask you about Frankie de Jong. Transfer we've known about going on for a while. Frankie de Jong.
If
to
you want
Barca.
to set up a new podcast, a 15-part series of my admiration for the greatest
transfer.
centre midfielder of all time, I just
Bold.
I just genuinely think it's the best signing of the summer and probably going to be the best signing for a very long time.
Interested, is that better than Rabiot on a free? Because
Yes,
he was 75 million.
yes,
75
Yeah, but it's
million.
Rabiot.
yes.
Yeah, Rabiot's. See,
He's a
I listened to a podcast the other day.
21-year-old that nobody is doing the things he's doing as good as he's doing. And he's going to be playing alongside Arta, who is
Oh, God, here
also
we go.
unbelievable.
we all know he's not though because it's Ernesto Valverde. What's he called?
Oh yeah, he's
the
probably going
manager's-
to play Sergi Roberto.
It'll be Vidal and probably Sergio Roberto. Yeah.
No, if he's got any sense, he'll play Busquets for another year, holding
but he's
let
not.
Frankie and Arta run up and down, not like headless chickens, like some pre-organised roosters.
Thanks for that, Will. Gonna end that there. I will say. I'm just gonna rattle off a few, and I'm gonna ask one last question to Will. Okay, to Guy Ndombele, Spurs after 518 days finally spends some money on a player, and it's a lot of money on a very good player. Also signed him and Jack Clark on the same day, and Clark's gone back to Leeds. But Ndombele's there. Great replacement for Moussa Dembele. Mats Hummels having a romantic return to Borussia Dortmund. phenomenal. We mentioned it before. Manolas Napoli, great signing for him defensively. Replaces Raul Albiol for a very decent fee. Obviously, part of that deal was Amadou Diawara going the other way to Roma, but whips both sides. Tyrone Mings, ridiculous price for a ridiculously overrated player. Villa will probably go down.
I disagree.
Okay. And then I've got Leicester, Jose Perez, and Yuri Tielemans. And then the last one for Will, Aran Wan-Bissaka. What do we think of him, Mr. United fan?
I'm genuinely shocked we got it done, because Ed Woodward doing something sensible just doesn't normally exist, and it's...
I'm the fifth best
we
right
have-
back in the league.
Yeah, behave yourself. No right back in the world can defend on his level, and he is so underrated going forward.
Wait,
Can we just say that again, Will?
Oh!
But no
Give
right,
that-
no right back in the world defends like him. I think
Would
that's
you
a
not...
very honest statement.
Can I just caveat that with, he was playing at Crystal Palace, so he had to just defend more. Like,
Yeah, but his
that's
attacking
just-
output is so underrated as well. He had the best crossing percentage in the league.
Yeah, but if you
God.
take
He
two
had
cross,
a
if it's two
fantastic
crosses,
amount- He had a fantastic amount of take-ons. His dribbling numbers are really good. I think it's the best business we've done in a long time.
I mean, it means
And
you
he's
don't have to play
21.
Ashley Young anymore. Which is
And I'd
plus.
love you
Yeah.
to now reel off some right backs that can defend better than him, because you can't.
Joe Gomez.
Christ.
He's a right
Ivanovic.
back, and it's not even close. Zavanovic have a walking stick.
What?
Instead of Ivanovic.
Who
Sure, he's
said
about
Ivanovic?
54.
Branislav Ivanovic.
Yeah, he's so old.
He's still playing.
And it's a monster, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't wanna
I would
take
have
him on.
actually. My caveat would have actually been Nikola Milenkovic from Fiorentina.
He's a centre back.
He's played right back all of this season, Will. So, will you tell me?
I would argue
Because he basically is a centre back
better
that
than
would play him
Wan-Bissaka.
right back.
Kyle
No,
Walker.
Wan-Bissaka.
United are actually looking at Milenkovic as well.
Yeah, that would be pretty sick.
Kyle Walker. He plays like a third centre
Um,
back most of the time for City.
He also is nowhere near defensively on the level of Wan-Bissaka.
Joel Cancelo.
Ooh, I
Right.
like that.
Better going forward. Don't think he's as good defensively.
Well, Will's got some very deluded and interesting opinions.
Actually, Will, you're more defensive of Wan-Bissaka than Wan-Bissaka is defensive.
You just can't give. me
Moving
that.
on
Right.
swiftly, Kieran. Oh, please never do that again, Kieran. That was embarrassing for everyone.
I'm gonna do it. Again.
That's our caveat for the roundup of the summer, and talk about next season. And now we're gonna go to my new section, my favourite section, called Irreplaceable. And this week we're doing it on Christian Eriksen. I'm gonna start this off. So the premise of this is there's a player who's linked with leaving. I'm gonna chuck a fee on that, 70 million. Probably quite a lot, but you've got 70 million to replace Eriksen. And I'm going to
Like
start
Daniel
off with
Levy's giving you
mine.
all of that.
Yeah.
He's giving you
No,
7.
He's giving. Oh, we've signed Jack Grealish for 10.
He's like, go and get me the best free agent on the market. His wages are under 10k a week.
So yeah, I'm going to start with mine, and then we'll go through Keys, then Pete's, then Will, and then we'll have a discussion. So mine is a player who did really well at the under-21s. That's Dani Olmo, and the preface for mine is he's a La Masia graduate who'll be trying to break into a top 5 league. Currently in Croatia, so it's not going to cost the world to get out. And yeah, again, currently in Croatia, so his wages won't be ridiculous. That's my thoughts. Kieran, who is your idea as a replacement?
Mine is, in a shock to absolutely nobody, really outlandish. I did tell Adam this before the podcast as well. My shout was James Rodriguez.
I like it.
Maybe is some, because he is still part of Real Madrid's squad, isn't he? He's still owned by them.
Yeah.
So I thought
And
maybe
think
some
he's,
kind
I
of
think he'll cost
swap
about
deal.
40 million.
Yeah, or like James Rodriguez and 30 mil rather than the 70 mil. I think he's had a tough couple of years. He doesn't really know what he wants. He had that amazing World Cup. a couple of years ago, and I just
feel
think he's definitely got it in him still.
I feel like he's underrated off the ball as well.
Yeah,
He's on a lot of money though
wages wise.
for Tottenham. They don't really like
Oh
to
yeah,
pay them.
oh yeah. But I think, Ericsson sometimes he can play out wide as well. He plays in the centre. I think James Rodriguez, in terms of positioning wise and ability, could definitely play for that Spurs team. I think he's in a similar position to when Lucas was at PSG. I don't know where this is coming from. I've turned
Calm
into
down, Sean Dutch.
I've turned 4-4-2 footballer beard.
You were
You're done,
segueing
yeah.
to Lucas Moura.
I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
he's
that's what I was
talking
doing.
about.
God, you just cut me off, Adam.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because the
To
dog
be
was
fair, if
bloody
you were going
kicking
to
off.
compare James and Lucas Moura, it was probably right to cut you off.
No, I just mean in terms of situation. They've been paying for big clubs and technically underperforming, but I think at Spurs he could do bits. That's all I was going to
Should
say.
we not play it?
I thought you was going to say like his play style.
No.
Oh.
I mean situationally.
Right.
Right,
Spurs
let's move
could
on as
be
quickly as possible
his
from
break
this.
again.
Pete, who's your man to replace Ericsson?
Similarly to Key, I'm sticking Real Madrid, and I think as a team they have been widely known for not necessarily nurturing talent, but enjoying the big names. If I was Daniel Levy, I'd be saying, take my Ericsson and give me Ceballos as a swap deal.
Okay.
For the full price or any money going?
I think...
I
40
think-
mil, surely.
I think Real would part with him for 50.
I
So you think-
think he's got to be worth around the 50 region mark. He's, 5 years younger than Chris Ericsson as
I
well?
think
Yeah.
they value Ericsson about 70 and Ceballos at 50. So if he could get 20 million as well.
I mean,
Okay.
honestly, if you could, I think Spurs fan, you could get Ceballos and 20 million for Ericsson.
Yeah.
I think that's a good
You
deal.
take it and run. Love that.
100%.
And Fanny, Will, who's yours?
Definitely didn't get the memo about one player. So I went over a number of different options if we've got time.
Yeah, sure.
So my first was just a straight up replacement, as if we're saying that Ericsson plays in the 10 more than the 8. And I looked at people like Ante Rebic, but his past success for a team that's going to control quite a lot of the ball, I didn't think was good enough. I feel like he'd work more on a counter-attacking team. I looked at Joaquin Correa from Lazio to play just behind Kane, but they'd probably have to operate more of like a 4-4-1-1. He has 1.7 key passes a game. He has 1.3 shots in the penalty area, so they're okay numbers. I also looked at as if Spurs would sell Ericsson and change their formation. So I was thinking that it would allow Dele Alli, who I believe would play better in a 10 than he would in 8. It would
Yeah,
allow
I
him
said
to
that to
play
Kieran
there.
as well.
And they've obviously signed Tonge and Ndombele. But I thought Stanislav Lobotka from Celta Vigo would be an interesting move to move Dele Alli up to the 10 and have Lobotka playing kind of like an 8-6 hybrid where he gets a bit more freedom than he does at Celta Vigo. Really good in tight spaces and bringing it out from his own, just in front of his own penalty area. He can drive past midfield. Looked at Gianluca Waldschmidt. We've already spoke about him. And then I looked at them taking a player that can play off the right, he can play behind a striker, and he can also play up front because Spurs are going to need to identify a second striker with
Clearly, you don't know about Troy Parrott, Will.
Loriente leaving. So I looked at Sebastian Driussi from Zenit St. Petersburg, who had a really good season. He played a number of different positions, as I said, right, centre, and up top. He scored 11 goals and got 6 assists in only 1,851 minutes.
Against Russian teams. Go
You calm down.
on.
He was having 2 shots a game from the wing and 1.5 of those in the penalty area. So he was making chances for himself. And then I had 2 wild cards to throw at you.
Oh, more. Go on.
I had wild cards. The first one is a player whose numbers were very underwhelming, but is a very raw talent. I don't think he'd cost you a lot of money, and he isn't going to be a quick fix. But it's Arnor Sigurdsson from CSK Moscow, an Icelandic player who can play in the 8 and the 10. I don't think he's a quick fix, but he's one for the future. And then the other wild card was Quintero, the Colombian at River Plate, who I think has attitude problems, but his buyout clause is 22 million euros. Probably a cheaper version of James, but maybe more risk.
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember he was not good enough for Porto's team, so I don't know if that
Was
doesn't
really
feel-
young at Porto.
was he. I thought he was about 24 when he was there.
I think he's 24 now, isn't he? 25.
26,
idea.
I think he is.
Yeah.
He's killing it at River Plate though.
I think it's only 2019. He's actually been released from Porto. He was just on loan everywhere before.
Yeah.
He was on River Plate and they signed him permanently. And he scored
will
5
say-
and 7.
Oh, sorry, go on.
That was it. Scored 5 and 7 since moving
Yeah.
to River Plate.
I'll tell you where my issues are with those picks. So, I like the Lobotka, I like Lo Celso. The Drury one, I think it costs a lot to get a player out of Zenit, as the Paradise shows. And I think the fact that he only played 1,000 minutes in the Russian league does worry me.
Almost 2,000.
Well, yeah,
If you
but
do opt
still,
some of
that's
the Russian league, though, that point of Arnold Sigurdsson is brilliant. I actually completely forgot. He's a bit of a talent in at 20.
And he had
He's
very
young, though, isn't he?
underwhelming numbers.
Super
But
young,
I feel like his
He's got
defensive
potential.
numbers his defensive numbers are pretty much non-existent, but that's because he actually presses really well, but doesn't necessarily make the tackles. He just presses really well from the 10 or the 8.
I think
Really
right
good
coach
eye
on
for a
him,
pass.
he'd be a very good player.
Yeah. I assume you'd be able to get him for about 5 million as well, probably.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to cost. Oh, he's
The
not.
world.
He's young, so
He's had a few caps for Iceland's main team as well.
I can't imagine that CSK are going to price him out of a move.
No. Okay. I also will put one more name into the hat. Maybe Kieran will leave a poll somewhere with like the best options.
Hey,
So
here's
you
an
can
idea,
pick them.
Adam. Why don't people comment below who they would replace Ericsson with?
That's a great idea. And I'm going to caveat one more. Okay. But yeah, Kieran, the reason people shouldn't do that or wouldn't do that is because there's no one watching.
Ah.
But joking.
Zach Hughes.
All of
Shout out to you for watching the whole thing.
shout out Luke Wilson-Jones as well.
I was going to say
Thanks.
Milinkovic-Savic, but he's definitely coming to United, so I didn't.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna
yeah.
say Hakim Ziyech, 25 mil release scores. Yeah, Bob's your uncle. That's you sorted. That rounds up our section on Irreplaceable. Leave comments below, and make sure if you've got this far, leave a like. Because clearly, if you've listened to an hour of Dross, you don't mind it.
Luther van der Ras.
Especially when I've been involved.
Luther.
Jesus.
Hells to the yeah. Okay, and then we're gonna finalists. We're gonna finish this podcast off by looking back at some football history. Okay. Now, I told everyone to do some research, but I doubt anyone did. Maybe Will, based on his 8
I-
shouts to replace Ericsson.
I just couldn't sleep last night.
Over 1.7
Okay.
shots in the box.
I
I was just couldn't sleep because I was so invested who Spurs should get at camp.
Okay, and today's in football history, we're going to speak about a how do I say this? Decisive
Interesting.
figure in football. It's Jose Mourinho. Now we're going to start it back when things were good, pre the economic crisis of 2008, back in 2004, and as a young.
Aye, whoa. What about Porto?
What year do you think they won the Champions League, Kieran?
This sounds like the worst episode of How I Met Your Mother ever.
What do you think, Kieran? When do you think Porto won the Champions League?
2003?
You're wrong. It was 2004.
No!
Where we are starting, Kieran.
Yeah, but it
Let's
was in
stop-
the
let's stop
2003-2004 season, wasn't it?
Shut the fuck up, Kieran. 2004. We're gonna go back to that. Kieran, stop interrupting if you don't know. It's just embarrassing.
The man won a Champions League with Benny McCarthy. He deserves everything,
The man.
apart from
that
the
is.
United manager.
I'm gonna say though, of that, have you seen the last 4 that were the semi-finalists for that competition that year?
Monaco were in the final, weren't they?
So it was Monaco, Chelsea, and Deportivo
La Coruña.
La Coruña. So I think of Champions League semi-finals, that is one of the weakest. But you've still got to beat them, and obviously to get there, they did beat Real Madrid and Man United. As a Man United fan, Will, do you remember that game? How old would you have been? About 7 or 8?
I would have
9.
been about 8.
Yeah. So do you remember any of that game? The
I do
Paul
not.
Scholes goal?
I
I've
can't
rewatched some
really
of the
remember
things.
last week, Adam, to be honest.
Some of the things about that Porto team is one of the best traits was being able to get people called offside when they weren't offside because they had such a good defensive line and they were real good at arguing. So like if this had been in the VAR era, they would have never won it. Also, I think it's exciting to say that it was it's the breakout for a lot of good Portuguese players like Deco,
Deco went
Paulo
to
Ferreira, and
Roma, didn't he?
Raul Carvalho.
I'm just going to say as well, in 2004, Villas Boas played for Porto.
He's in there again. The man with the locks. It's Andre Villas-Boas.
What a man.
Okay. After Porto and that Champions League victory, he obviously he won the league convincingly. It was Chelsea. And it's time to see what he could do in a top European league. I distinctly remember Ibrahimovic was at the Champions League final in 2004, and he said, because the other manager in charge, correct me if I'm wrong, was Rafa Benitez. And he said, buy me whoever wins.
The biggest job interview ever.
Sorry, just these. Yes, the biggest job interview in the world, you could say. Jose comes in, successful. He's instantly successful, wins the Premier League, won
He
an FA
also
Cup.
did move a fair bit of his starting 11 to Chelsea, didn't he? Bring Ferreira, Carvalho, Deco.
Also,
Oddly, he
spine,
didn't bring
though,
Benny McCarthy.
The spine Chelsea had though with John Terry, Lampard, and Drogba, Petr
And
Cech
Cech,
in
of
goal.
course.
That was super.
guess who
Yeah,
he
but
brought
that's-
to Chelsea though as chief scout?
Is it Andre Villas-Boas?
It's Andre Villas-Boas.
It's Andre Villas.
He brought him.
But
he's
can
the
you
reason.
tell me who the under-21 manager was at that point for Chelsea? I'll tell you. Brendan Bloody Rodgers.
Character.
I feel like I
Big
did know
Brendan.
that somewhere. I feel like it.
He was coaching Scott Sinclair there, hence why they
Scott
both
Sinclair.
went over to Swansea.
Angel.
Then again,
We need a podcast
Brendan.
on Leicester at some point because I think he's going to make them an absolute force.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think next week we could do our 10 minutes in football history on Brendan Rodgers, which I think would be interesting. But back to Jose at Chelsea. Really successful. Then, where's he go after Chelsea? Pete.
Inter Milan.
Inter Milan. The treble winning season. Will, what were your thoughts on that Inter Milan team?
Milito went supernova in the Champions League.
Supernova player.
Well, man.
Sorry, that was a
anything
really
else?
tired comment.
I mean, Samieto was great as well.
Balotelli.
Marko Anatovic, Champions League winner.
And this is, well, no, it'll be the TSL winner next year. One thing that was interesting is in an interview with Eto, when asked about Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho between the two, he said, well, one of them was at the best Bayern Munich team ever and didn't win the Champions League. The other one won the Champions League with Porto. So that's where Samuel Eto's thoughts lie. But then we move on from Inter. He wins the treble and then he moves on. Where does he go? Will.
He went to Real Madrid to create the most devastating counter-attacking team football has ever seen.
Correct.
What a CV this man has got.
I know. See,
Wait,
I
you
think
ain't got to
because
United
of
yet.
his. Yeah, well, no, that's the thing. When he was at United, people will disrespect him so much because you don't remember all these things, these great things he did.
You remember the man that lives
These
in
are
the
just a
hotel?
caveat that I've forgotten. He was living. Yeah, he was disrespectful to Man United at the same time, but like, he was a great manager. Like, he had this
I don't
amazing
really blame him that much, to
CV.
be honest.
No, oh well, but there's more than enough United fans that do. Will you have
I
to
don't think
agree with
I
that?
don't think he was the right man in the long run because
Yeah,
crashes, didn't he? But I don't think anybody had a thankless task with the board.
but
Anyway,
we're talking about Real Madrid now. Will
he
let's
made
keep this
Mesut
chronologically
Ozil
accurate.
Look like the greatest footballer in the world.
Pete, any opinions on Mesut Ozil right now?
He's now the worst footballer in the world.
Ugh. Well, what was it about this Real Madrid team? Do you think it was about the domestic success that they did achieve under Jose Mourinho,
just
which
think
was
he-
few and far between?
I
at
don't
Real
think
Madrid?
it's where he really showed his masterstrokes. Like they had a team full of absolute ballers, yet they sat back, soaked up pressure, and then Xabi Alonso would pick up the ball on the edge of his own box, pass it to a prime Mesut Ozil, who would
Who lays
just
it off to
who would
Adebayor?
spray a ball out to the wing where Ronaldo was same bolt and squares it to Benzema. It was just an absolute joy to watch. And I remember them in the Copa del Rey final against Barcelona, and they set up, and I think they set up in a 6-4 formation, and or it might have been a 6-3-1 with Cristiano playing centre forward, and they had no out and out strikers. They had 6 defenders, and they just sat back and let Barcelona have something like 80% possession in the Copa del Rey final. Counter-attacked, and Ronaldo scored, and they won 1-0.
That is Jose Mourinho. Now we go back. He's back to Chelsea, isn't he?
Oh, I thought
That's
you
his
were gonna
next
ask
move
me.
after Real Madrid.
Adam, ask me.
Where did he go after that, Kieran?
He returned to Chelsea.
He did. We did actually watch the Premier League years for this the other day, so you should be able to know. So,
for 2004.
you watched, I watched. Oh, you went there for that one. Well, I watched the 14, 15 anyway. Regardless of that, which Premier League years Kieran did or didn't watch. Boring Chelsea with a chance from Arsenal fans as they had 20% possession and won 1-0. They had 30% possession and beat Manchester United 2-1 in what was the return to Chelsea. Eden Hazard, a supernova season from him. You know what happened the next year. We'll talk about it in a minute. But that year, Chelsea won the points, were well clear of anyone else, and Jose Mourinho was back to being the man at the bridge. It was brilliant. But then, we'll come to you, Pete. What happened in the next season after that, after the glory of the Premier League?
To do with our lovely Ava, bloody kit lady woman. Don't go on the pitch. Don't go on the pitch. You've ruined the man. You've killed him. Off he goes. Off he goes. What was the points he finished on at Chelsea? I'm trying to remember. He was in the 90s, wasn't he, on his return?
I think his return was, I want to say 87, but don't quote me on that.
I'll have a look.
But obviously, the first time he
think it
came
was
in, he had
more.
the best defensive record ever in the Premier League
Where
history. hasn't he?
did
13
Chelsea
goals.
finish when Leicester won the league? Where was that? I know
think
he
they
wasn't
still
in
finished
charge
fourth.
then. It just came to my head.
Chelsea finished 10th.
Did
What, when
that
Leicester
year?
won? I thought that was the year before.
Chelsea
No,
Did
won
Rafa
with
Benitez-
87.
The year Leicester won the league.
Was that when he got sacked?
Yeah.
Because Liverpool finished 8th that year, didn't they?
Yeah, and
Liverpool
Rafa
finished
Benitez
And
came
that
in and
was-
won a
that was
Europa
the
League.
year for Arsenal to win the league.
Well, I'm just saying,
Pete.
we were the only team to do the double over. So where was everyone else? We did our part.
True that.
But I think towards the end, it was quite unfortunate because teams were real weak, but yet they're like, oh, well, Leicester are winning the league, so I guess we're going to lose this
Very-
game.
I know we've just looked at Liverpool who've just lost this Premier League by losing one game. Leicester lost 3 games that season. They won the Prem. They only lost 3 games.
Yeah.
2 were to Arsenal,
Yeah.
and 1 was to Liverpool. If your Cities, Uniteds, and everyone else aren't doing favours for you there, then what can you do?
You're up Shit's Creek with that a paddle, aren't you?
2014, 2015, Chelsea won with
Greatest.
87 points, 3 losses. Second was Man City, 79 points.
See,
That's
it's a
an
dominant
8-point
season,
difference. 8 points.
But obviously, we spoke. Jose Mourinho left a player revolt, which was to become quite a trend at Chelsea within the next few years. Where's he going next? Will, where does Jose go?
He went to Manchester United.
And he was really successful and won consecutive league titles. Am I right, Will?
He claimed that his second place finish was his greatest ever footballing achievement.
19
The man who won a
points behind
Champions League with
Manchester
Porto
City.
and a treble. Oh.
He took the Chuckle Brothers to a silver medal.
I mean, he did win some competitions when he was there, right? He won the Europa League and the
Yeah.
Community Shield, and he won an FA
We
Cup.
won the League Cup because Zlatan,
League Cup, that was it.
Big
Zlatan
slaps.
scored against Southampton.
What a man he is.
Christ.
I just didn't like his treatment of certain players, freezing them out the team for months on end.
Defensively, though, I know it was largely David De Gea being amazing, but
yeah.
you only conceded one goal more than Man City that season in the Premier
Yeah.
League.
David De Gea did have something like the most points won for a club from a goalkeeper of all time, didn't he? He won United.
That's like a very specific metric
won
there, Will,
United
but yeah.
something like 17 points from his saves.
Well,
Madness.
that is truly unbelievable. And then it all came falling down. Ole was at the wheel, and then that's got to collapse. But hopefully he does well next season.
You baby stuff.
That was the conclusive look back at Jose Mourinho's history. You know, we didn't mention him as a player. He wasn't much of a player. He wasn't anything.
Didn't he take
I think he
a
gave-
really early injury, and that's why he went?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's the thing. I think he was the first man to prove you didn't have to have this massive history in football, playing wise, to think that you know a football brain is a football brain, regardless whether you played it or you just think that. That was a conclusive look
Anything
at
on
Jose
his
Mourinho.
future? I know. I mean, I don't know if it's
China!
Just
I read
turned
it
down
to
the biggest contract
100
ever, didn't
100 mil, something like that, was it?
he? Yes.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Fair play.
Fair play.
Well,
He maybe didn't want to stay in a Chinese hotel for 4 years.
It has 4-star review on TripAdvisor. No problem.
Portugal, not Russia. He's from, Kieran. Yeah. If you're here for at least for your
I
accent,
think
please
he's just
don't
going to
Kieran.
wait around for a big club to sack their manager and then bang.
I think he could be back to Portugal.
Thin ice
For a
for,
bit of a-
for me, I think. For him, I think if he's holding out for that illustrious big club move, I don't think he'll get it. Not until
I
he's
don't
going to prove
know. I
himself. as
feel
someone
like if
else.
Bayern don't hit the ground running, Niko Kovac is going to be on thin ice.
I will say though, I don't know if any of you guys have seen this, but him and Arsene Wenger on Bein Sport have been two of the best pundits I've seen ever. I'll say they blew all the other pundits out the water. They have got that insight that like no one else does due to their extreme managerial experience. I know Pete, you're a fan of Arsene Wenger, aren't you?
Ugh, absolutely not. But you can't knock what the man does and what he knows. Like he's just for
definitely
me a
not.
bit like a Mourinho. He's a bit of a dinosaur. I wouldn't necessarily say past it, but for now, how modern football is, I don't see them.
There must be
I-
a reason that he's not dived back into some sort of
Managerial.
I think he was waiting out for the AC Milan job, but because of the whole FFP thing that Kieran can tell you all about,
Would have
I
a
think he's a
separate
fan of it.
podcast on Kieran and FFP.
we can have a separate podcast on Kieran and finance.
Finance.
Well, I'm glad you boys all. I hope you all enjoyed talking today. So this will be the end of the podcast. Thank you very much, Kieran, for your incredible insight into football in Europe.
Oh, don't you worry about it, mate. Anytime. I'm glad that I've had 30 seconds to speak.
Thank you very much to Will. I know he was organised a bit late for Will coming in, but he did excessive research. It was brilliant. Thank you very much for being here, Will.
It's my insomnia. Thank you.
Thank you also to Pete Yates. Great performance from
Absolute
him again
pleasure.
today.
Always a
Hope
pleasure,
you all
never a
enjoyed
chore.
it. Oh,
Talking
Sorry.
football, I'll do it all week with you, mate. You know that.
yeah, I know very well. Well, it's been a pleasure from me as well. Hopefully this becomes a regular fixture. We're hoping every Thursday it can be uploaded. Hopefully it's recorded on the Wednesday, or at least a day near then, so it's kind of relevant what we're saying.
So you can
But-
spend all night editing.
That's the only reason I'm here.
So, yeah, producer Key.
Producer Key in
Anyway.
the booth.
Thank you very much for listening. If you got all the way through, you've got to drop a like, surely. Comment on the Ericsson replacement. Anything you think we can improve, also do that in the comments. Thank you very much, and arrivederci.